learn to live with the idea that you are going to fail. You're going to lose money by taking risk. Will it change relationships permanently? Maybe, but if you're respected and you're honest and you're transparent, probably not. I think there's a lot of people who don't like me for my bluntness. I don't care. I think a lot of people respect me for my bluntness. They may not like me. And it's sort of, it doesn't matter, because the only people that really matter to me are probably my 20th closest friends and my family.
Do you think if you hadn't worked with or known Steve Jobs, you would be a different person?
100%. Steve changed my life. There's no question. I didn't like him, but I feel so bad that he didn't have to die that way. He just wouldn't go with the modern medicine at the time, is my view. The guy was a friggin' genius. He was so smart in terms of keeping on track to getting stuff done, and look what he achieved. But he was difficult, because he wasn't always right, but he was right so much that the mistakes just didn't matter. And I thought, the people that spend enough time with him know what I'm talking about. It occurred to me, because I know Wozniak too, not as well as Jobs, but they really needed each other. They really needed each other. Because Woz understood, he understood what let me draw an analogy here for you. I think it's a good one. Take the situation going on right now with NVIDIA, AMD, to a certain extent Intel, maybe Broadcom, where policymakers in Washington have decided that we can't sell those chips to countries like China or Russia or whatever the list is of adversaries. That's bad policy. And here's why. What I learned from Jobs was the computer, the chip, is the queen bee. It's the queen bee. But it has no value without the honeybees, which are the programmers around it that form a community that spend all of their energy writing code that works with the queen bee, which is the chip, that pushes out its influence, because every coder that becomes familiar with that firmware, that Wozniak computer, writes to that platform, is part of the honeybees. Jobs understood that. He said, I've got to get every honeybee writing for the Mac, writing for the OS of Apple. It's the same with the NVIDIA chip. We need to sell it to everybody, even adversaries, because within that country of Russia or China is some genius kid, you don't know who he is or she is, that's going to write the next piece of firmware or advance AI from the queen bee, the chip, the American queen bee. The minute you shut down a market and you don't, your adversary sends their queen bee in, which is Huawei. We can't let that happen, because I don't think the lawmakers understand what Jobs understood. You create the hive with the queen in the middle, that's the chip. You convince every bee around to make the honey, which is the software, and that is the AI in this case. You make it off that chip, and when you advance the chip again, everybody knows how to take that set and stay within the American chip that you're advancing. Maybe you keep them one generation behind, maybe that's the policy, but you don't ever let an adversary put their queen bee in the middle of the hive. You see what I'm saying?
Of course.
And that is what Jobs did. That was the war between Gates and Jobs on the OS, on the operating system.
Yeah, I was thinking about the App Store and
it's the same thing.
ecosystem.
It's exactly the same thing. And so when I see this policy now, I go out of my mind. I mean, the first thing I do is get on a plane and go to Washington, because AI is so important for all of the investments I've made. I do not want to be putting Chinese honey into my companies at all. It's that simple.
So for that person that's stewing over their ideas now, if they had just a couple of minutes with you and they asked you the question, Kevin, I'm about to start this business, I'm about to go on this journey of trying to go from zero to something in my life. Is there anything else that I need to know as I set up upon this sort of next 10 years of my life? I'm 21 years old. Because I think every entrepreneur has like their principles. You talked about one, which is the signal versus noise thing. Are there any other foundational principles that you think are conducive with success that you might have learned?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm telling 21-year-olds now is, look, go work for 24 months in a sector you love, that you're passionate about, even if they don't pay you. Go in there and be an apprentice. If you're that passionate, you're going to be able to convince some manager to go work for free in there. They're going to recognize your passion and they're going to bring you in. Do that first. Most young entrepreneurs say, nah, I don't want to work for anybody. I said, yeah, you do actually. You do want to work for somebody. You want to just understand how all the cogs move. Just 24 months. And after that, launch. The first one will probably fail. You're going to start with your parents giving you $10,000, whatever it is, friends and family. But you will have the baseline knowledge of your industry. You will know who the participants are. You will understand how it works. And you'll have a much higher probability of success. But the key is to launch sort of in your mid to early 20s, because you need to burn a few years failing, and that matters.